Good morning everybody, and welcome again to Cooking on a Budget with Christine. Today we're going to make a lovely creamy leek and potato soup with crispy lardons and a crouton and cheese topping. And I must say as well, hello Sophie! Before I started today, I decided to do my preparation first. So I've taken 500 grams of potatoes. Actually, there's actually 600 in this because I didn't want to spoil the rest of the potatoes. So 500 or 600 grams potatoes, 1 onion chopped, and 4 leeks. Now this is the size of the leeks that I've been using. If you look, they're about the size of a kitchen knife, so that gives you the size. I'm ready to go. I haven't heated my milk yet because I'm going to leave that to the very end, ready to put in the soup once I've ground it up. So first of all, I'm going to show you how to clean a leek, and this is really important because there's nothing worse, I find, when you go into a restaurant and order a bowl of vegetable soup and by the time you're halfway down you realise that the bottom layer of the soup is just grit from the leeks. So we're going to go over to the sink and I'll show you how to clean your leek. It's very easy to clean a leek really. You're just going to top and tail it, so cut the end bit off like that and then just cut most of this top bit. I'm going to leave on because it's okay to put the greens in, but if it's a little bit dead like this, then I'll cut that off, and perhaps we'll just chop the tops and the leeks off as well. Now what I do is I take a knife, and just watch your fingers, and I slide it right the way down the leek like that, so that your leek opens out. Funny enough, this leek isn't particularly dirty, but sometimes you do get leeks and they are filled with mud or sand. Now you can see the top of this one here has lots of bits of mud in. So what we're going to do is just run that under the tap and wash off the bits of muck and dirt that are inside your leek. Just give it a good wash. You see it's hidden in between the folds of your leeks there. So this one's actually, as I said, not too bad. So give your leeks a good wash like that. Okay, and that is how you get your leek nice and clean. It doesn't matter if it falls to pieces because you're going to clean it and cook it later. Okay, and I'll show you how to chop your leek. So I'm going to chop my leek, and I'm just going to chop it into pieces like this, and right the way along. As you can see, you don't have to be exact. That's our leek, nicely chopped up, ready to go in the pan. Now I prepared my leeks earlier, so I'm just going to add this to it, and then we're going to go over to the cooker and start the cooking process. So there we are, there's all our lovely leeks all ready to rock and roll. I'm just going to pop into my saucepan my potatoes, my onions and my leeks. It's just about to fit into this pan, and that's okay because it will squash down once it starts to cook. Add my stock. Then I'm going to bring that to the boil and leave it to simmer until it's all nice and soft and tender. So that should take about 15 minutes. So we'll pop the lid on that and turn it up and bring it to the boil and leave it for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'll check it to see if it's ready. Now, I always think a nice little bit of crispy croutons on top of the soup makes it a little bit more filling and very tasty as well. So I'm just using the ends of the loaf of bread. So many people throw these away, but they're very, very useful for making croutons. So I'm just going to cut them into little squares. Most of you remember this from my previous video on how to make the curry carrot soup, but we'll just do a quick recap here. I'm not going to show you them cooking or anything, I'm just going to chop them up. So there we have our lovely little squares of bread that we're going to fry in 2 tablespoons full of cooking oil until they're nice and brown, and then I'll show you how to make the bacon to go with them. Right, that's my lovely leek potato boiling away there. Now that's actually taken 20 minutes rather than 15 because I had let my stock cool a little bit. So the way you test your potatoes and leeks to see if they're done is if you go like that with your knife and give it a good squash, your potato should fall away very, very nicely like that. And your leeks should be nice and clear, a little bit like your onions when you're cooking your onions, and you should be able to get your knife through. So that's ready now for us to grind up. So I'm just going to give it a quick grind. I'll start it off and then I'll stop the camera because it makes so much noise, and then I'll show you the next step. So just grind away until everything is mixed to a nice pulp. So this will only take a couple of minutes. Now while you're doing this, it's a good idea to put your milk into a little pan and warm it up. You shouldn't really put cold milk into your soup straight away because often it'll curdle and it'll really spoil the taste of your soup. But don't boil your milk, because if you boil the milk you'll get a skin on the top of it, and then the skin won't look very nice on the top of your soup either. So that's our soup. As you can see, it's very, very thick, but don't worry about that because you're going to add your milk. So I've warmed my milk in a saucepan, and then I'm just going to whiz it into the soup like that. And there we have it, all nice and thick and creamy. And we're just going to finish off now by cooking our lardons and finishing off our croutons. So I'm just going to leave that on the cooker at a very, very low heat while I make the rest of the dish. So into my frying pan I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and turn it up so that it's nice and warm. And then I'm going to add 1 packet of, now these are smoky bacon lardons this time, not just the plain lardons. I'm just going to pop those in. There's slightly less in this packet, but that's okay, it's no problem. These I actually bought in Lidl this time, so there you get 2 packets. So I'm just using 1 packet. And I'm going to cook away at those until they are nice and crispily cooked actually, because I want to make this a nice crispy bacon tasting dish. So we'll let those cook away until they're ready and crispy. So that's my bacon nicely fried there, and as you can see there's a little bit of bacon fat in the bottom. You probably notice, as we did when we were cooking these, that there's a lot of water comes out of your bacon. Just make sure that you cook your bacon on a high heat and get rid of that water so that you're not going to end up with soggy croutons. For anybody who hasn't made my croutons, I was just looking there. If you go into my curried carrot soup recipe to about 8 minutes into the video, you'll find out how to make the croutons. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pour my croutons in, and I'm just going to toss them about in the bacon fat, and that'll give them a really nice smoky bacon flavour. Obviously for anybody who's vegetarian, this bit, just keep your croutons ready, and what we're going to do for the vegetarian version is just to sprinkle a bit of cheese over the top of your soup. So there we have our lovely croutons, and now I'm just going to show you how to put together your meal. It's blowing a gale out here today, so this is a really thick hearty soup for a very cold north coast day. So we're just going to pop our soup into a good 2 ladles full into the bowl, and then just finish it off with a nice topping of sizzly bacon and croutons. Now we had this for 2 days on the run, And the second day I didn't have any bacon and croutons left, so I just finished off my soup with some nice grounds of black pepper and a little bit sprinkle of cheese on the top. So you have two ways of choosing. You can serve it with your bacon and your croutons, and cheese, or just with some nice finely ground black pepper and some cheese on. So there we have it, a lovely bowl full of leek and potato soup with bacon and crispy croutons. Enjoy!